Hey, I'm your storyteller. I'd love to know where you're watching from. You can tell me in the comments section. When you are ready, lean back, and let's dive into this week's horror stories. I was home alone. My parents had gone out to visit some friends, so it was just me. I had no plans for the night, just a quiet evening of scrolling TikTok, maybe playing some video games before crashing in bed. It was around 10 p.m. when I first saw it. I was in the kitchen making a quick snack. The only light was from the fridge as I grabbed a soda. The TV was murmuring from the living room. I shut the fridge, turned, and then peeking around the corner leading into the hallway was a foot. Not mine, not my parents', someone else's. It was bare, motionless, just sticking out from behind the wall, like someone had stepped forward but stopped in their tracks. For a few long seconds, I just stood there, my brain short-circuiting. My first thought was that my mind was playing tricks on me. Maybe it was a shadow, maybe my eyes were just adjusting to the dim lighting, but it was definitely real. A cold wave of panic slammed into me. I was supposed to be home alone. Every logical thought disappeared, replaced by sheer terror. I backed away step by step, gripping the counter behind me. My heart pounded so hard it echoed in my ears. I debated making a run for the front door, but what if they were closer than I thought? What if the second I moved, they ran toward me? I needed to get upstairs. The second I hit the stairs, I took them two at a time, nearly tripping over myself in my panic. I made it to my room and slammed the door. I grabbed my phone. I was about to call 911 when I hesitated. I was always taught that 911 should only be called in real emergencies, so, of course, being my young, dumb self, I decided to wait. I needed to know if they were still there. With my heart hammering, I crept toward my door, dropping to my knees and pressing my ear against it. It was silent, but as I listened, footsteps began approaching my door. I covered my mouth to stifle my breathing. They were coming upstairs. I got up and backed away. I did the only thing I could. I slipped behind my bed, crouching low. My phone was still in my hand, my thumb hovering over the call button. I was about to press it when my bedroom door creaked open. I didn't dare to move, didn't dare breathe. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw them. The half of a person slowly appeared in the doorway. He didn't blink, he just stood there not moving, looking at me with a wide eye. I couldn't process what I was seeing. I didn't know what to do. The whole situation was really hard on me and my head was spinning. I was going to pass out. But then, a voice. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" It came from outside. It was my neighbor. She could see him through the stair railing. Whoever, or whatever, was standing in my doorway, whipped around and ran. I could hear them run down the stairs and out the back door. I stayed behind my bed for what felt like an eternity, my whole body still shaking. My phone screen was still on, my thumb still hovering over the emergency call button. I pressed it with numb fingers, whispering to the operator that someone had broken into my house. By the time the police arrived, the house was empty. Nothing was taken. No doors or windows were broken. The only sign that someone had been there at all was a bare footprint at the bottom of the stairs. I don't know how they got in. I don't know what they wanted. I can't even think about what would have happened if my neighbor hadn't come over when she did. I left work late, way later than usual. The clock on my dashboard read 12:47 a.m. I planned to stop for gas, but the station was already closed. Its neon sign flickered a few times before going dark completely. So I kept driving. There were no other cars on the road, just me, the highway, and endless trees stretching out on both sides. Then, out of nowhere, a fog rolled in, thick and fast. 1 second, everything was clear. The next, I could barely see a few feet in front of my car. It was the kind of fog that clung to everything, swallowing the road, the trees, even the glow of my headlights. I gripped the wheel tighter and slowed down. I rolled my windows down, And then I heard it. A whisper. Soft and distant. So quiet I almost didn't register it. If I hadn't been driving an EV, I wouldn't have heard it. I couldn't make out what it was saying, but it freaked me out a little. I almost thought it came from my car's speakers at first, but the radio was off. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing but fog. The trees had disappeared into the haze, leaving me completely alone in a world of white silence. What I thought was a whisper came again. This time I wasn't in doubt. It wasn't the radio. It wasn't static. It was a voice. A real voice coming from somewhere out in the fog. I instinctively locked the doors and pressed the window button without thinking, but the windows wouldn't move. Then another voice joined in, and another. Dozens of voices, all whispering at once, overlapping each other. I couldn't make out what they were saying. They were surrounding my car. I wanted to get away. I pressed slightly on the gas, not daring to go quicker because of the fog, but the whispers followed. One whisper was louder than the others, and suddenly I could make out the words, "Slow down." I don't know why, but I slammed my foot on the brakes. It wasn't a decision, I just reacted. My car screeched to a stop. Then there was silence. The whispers were gone. Through the thinning fog, a few feet ahead, the road curved sharply and there was a drop-off just beyond it. If I hadn't stopped, I would have gone right over the edge. I stared at the ravine. Had I imagined the voices? A gust of wind pushed against my car, clearing the fog just enough for me to see something else, something that made my stomach turn. At the very edge of the ravine stood an old, rusted road sign, the kind meant to warn drivers of the sharp turn, but it was covered in deep scratches, scratches that looked like fingernail marks, and just below it, half buried in the dirt, were tire tracks leading straight over the edge. I didn't wait to see anything else. I threw the car into reverse and got out of there as fast as I could. I still don't know what was whispering to me that night, but I'm lucky that I stopped in time. It all started with a text from my brother, Jake. "Hey, you free to talk?" Nothing about it seemed weird. I called him back like I normally would, but the second he answered, something felt off. The voice on the other end sounded like Jake. Same tone, same way of speaking, but there was something else there. A slight distortion, like a weird echo beneath his words. He brought up a conversation we'd had a few weeks ago, something private, something only he and I knew about. It should have reassured me. Instead, my stomach twisted into knots. That echo lingered in the background, barely noticeable, but enough to put me on edge. I told myself it was just a bad connection. I wanted to believe that. Then he laughed. It was quiet, subtle, almost like a chuckle under his breath. But it didn't sound right, like two voices overlapping, just slightly out of sync. "Jake?" I said slowly. "Yeah? Are you using speakerphone or something? Your voice sounds kinda weird." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" he said. I almost let it go, almost brushed it off. But something in me wouldn't drop it. "I don't know, there's this weird echo. You don't hear that?" "No. You're the only one hearing it." His voice dropped slightly on that last sentence, like he was speaking closer to the mic, or like something else was speaking with him. A shiver ran down my spine. "All right, well, I'll call you later," I muttered. "Okay, talk soon." I hung up. The second the call ended, I felt like I could breathe again. My apartment was silent except for the hum of my fridge. I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. It was nothing, just my brain playing tricks on me. Then my phone buzzed again. "Jake, missed call." I frowned. I had just hung up with him. Before I could call back, another notification popped up. Voicemail received. I opened it. Something about this felt wrong. I pressed play. At first, static, low and crackling, like an old radio struggling for signal. But then someone said, "Don't answer the phone." It was Jake's voice, but warped, desperate, almost like he was pleading. I yanked the phone away from my ear. What the hell was that? Then my screen lit up. Incoming call. Jake. I forced myself to answer, putting the phone to my ear. "Jake?" I said. All I got back was, "You shouldn't have answered." My stomach dropped. It wasn't his voice. It was close. Too close. But not quite right. Like someone trying to imitate him and failing just slightly. I hung up and immediately called Jake myself. The real Jake. He picked up on the second ring. "Yo, what's up?" His voice was normal. No distortion. No echo. I swallowed, my throat dry. "Did you just call me?" "No. Why?" "You just sent me a voicemail," I said. "Dude, I haven't even touched my phone." I slowly turned, looking around my apartment. Nothing felt different, but the air felt heavier somehow. "You good?" Jake asked. Yeah, I'm good," I said, even though I wasn't. I deleted the voicemail, blocked the number, tried to shake it off. But later that night, as I was lying in bed, my phone buzzed again. New voicemail. No missed call. No number. Just a single message waiting to be played. At first it was static again. Then, layered over the distortion, a voice that sounded almost like mine. "You can't block me." The voicemail ended. I stared at my phone. Who was doing this? Why were they doing this? I haven't had any strange voicemails or calls since, so I hope whoever it was has left me alone for good. But I doubt it.